And so I sent my daughter for a sleepover at her cousin's place. And that night I said to my wife, has gone on long enough, and it's over now. So you're going back to your country, and we are staying here. And so I expected like a major, massive meltdown and rage episode. But what happened was she became very apologetic and begging and pleading for another chance. And in that moment, I realized like I can't believe I'd never had this conversation with her before, and I'd never put any consequences or ultimatum, but just let her continue with that really insane pattern of behavior for so long. What the hell was wrong with me? But anyways, that was the beginning of really engaging with this thing. So, like, part of me said, no, you know what? She's never going to change. She's just telling you what she wants you to hear so that she can have what she wants. And this thing is just going to go on and on. And another part of me said, you know what? I've never seen her like this before. And maybe this is genuine and maybe it's sincere. And we've got to give it a try because you don't want your daughter growing up without her mommy. And maybe on the other side of this thing, there's a deeper, more beautiful connection and bond that, so hoping for the best, I gave her another chance, and we tried to make the most of it. But yeah, unfortunately, it wasn't to be, and it just continued and continued and continued. And so eventually we had to separate. And I I took my daughter with me because it wasn't safe for her to be with someone who's so emotionally unstable and damaging and abusive, physically and psychologically abusive. And so, yeah, this whole saga, this whole long experience forced me to come into my personal power to protect my child. Like after that, there was another episode with my family. And so, like, there was the tension and stress of the whole COVID situation. And so everybody was on the edge. And so they needed a big release, a big dumping ceremony. And I was in town. And so they were ready for me. And so one night my one sister came up with some accusations, and then the other sister, father came and joined in and started saying really nasty things for no reason. And then the other sister came in, like first pretending to be like a peacemaker and let's talk about this thing. But then she's the one who's always been the worst, like the one I shouted at earlier, So yeah, so I wasn't going to stand for it. And this time I was a bit calmer, but I was also in control of this rage thing. And so I started talking and explaining, and she started mocking and ridiculing. Like one of the things I said is, when I was a kid, I it was very difficult for me. I was quite socially anxious, and you used to do this thing where you would really ridicule and humiliate me in front of people. One day, your friends were home after school, and you called me a pathetic loser, and you laughed at me in front of your friends. And another time, I came back from a soccer match where I just scored the 2 goals that won us one of the few games we ever won in our in our history of our team. And I was so happy. And when I told everyone about it, you laughed and you said, called me a liar, and you ridiculed me, humiliated me in front of guests, family who were visiting. Like, oh, why do you have to lie about scoring goals? We all know that you don't know how to play soccer. I didn't say anything, and I just left. And another time, I was alone in my room and playing my guitar, and one of your friends, one of your really nice friends, came in, and she, even though I was socially awkward and anxious, but she sat with me and tried to talk to me, and she listened to me playing my guitar, and it was nice. It felt really nice to have someone care about me enough to come and enter my space, my private universe there. And so the next day, you at lunchtime, you said that she said that I'm such a pathetic loser, sitting alone in my room, and you made a big joke in front of the whole family, and nobody said anything because um, that's the family system. But anyways, I'm explaining these things to her, and so she starts laughing and like once again ridicule and humiliating, and so I had enough of it, and so I shouted at them. And I mean, what I told her, I said, I don't need a fucking asshole like you to tell me what kind of a person I am. Okay? People have told me that I've got a good heart, and not just a good heart, but a beautiful heart. And I told her, I told her this, and I can tell you that those words and saying that to that person made a massive change in me, and it liberated me. So since then, there's not this constant rumination about this person. I'm free of her in my mind and in my heart, you know, and the parts of me that had been locked away and shackled are growing and are becoming free, and so I stand up for myself when I need to, and I don't shy away from engaging with people, because engaging with people is not so frightening anymore. And yeah, like a few months ago, I was at the beach, and I was waiting for the bus, and then there was this lady with her 3 kids. They were also waiting for the bus, and so we started playing catch with my tennis ball, and then this guy comes along, and he gets into an argument with a woman, and then he starts hitting her. So I grabbed this guy and I pulled him aside, and I pushed him away. We all got into a taxi, and we got away from this guy. And yeah, I was ready to fight this guy, you know. And yeah, another time I was in the shop, and the shop cashier, I was standing on this side, and she's, I don't know, for some reason she got upset with me, and she said something rude. And so, like, the old me would have just taken it and let it slide, but I held her accountable, and I said, "Why are you being rude to me? I'm waiting here to be served like everybody else." And I gave her a brief lecture on customer service. And yeah, so those are little things, and they're big things, but it's just an experimentation with self to come into your repressed emotion. There's also repressed joy. So, like, something that they do, these dominant, emotionally abusive people, is they also pounce on your joy. Like that story about when I came home from the soccer match and I was happy. That's when they pounce the most. It's when they don't like to see you happy. They don't like to see you uplifted, and they have to crush your spirit. They need to crush your spirit. And yeah, so the avoidant, socially anxious child learns to hide their joy, so that you don't have it crushed out of you. And so you don't show that you're happy and that you're excited about something and you're exhilarated. So that's a whole nother part of your personality and emotionality that's also trapped and locked away. And what else? I mean, we are made to feel excessive fear and excessive anxiety, excessive shame and excessive guilt by constantly being humiliated, and, okay, not constantly, but a lot of the time being humiliated and rejected and being blamed and accused for things. And so this pattern of, the emotional schema becomes cognitive distortions, where you begin to think of yourself as to blame. And so anything that happens, it's by default, it's your fault. And any potential situation, social gathering, is a potential for embarrassment and humiliation. And yeah, because that's how your thinking kind of grows out of your emotionality, so that the thinking mind is like the leaves and the fruit on this tree, and the trunk, the stem, the roots, your emotionality and your body, somatic systems,